Hello and welcome back to Three Princesses in a Muggle World. My name is Jenny, and I am joined, as always, by my two best friends and co-hosts.
Hey everyone, it's Amber.
And Kasey, welcome back from our little hiatus after our March Madness, which, if you have not finished listening, go do so. There was a lot of fun. We had a lot of interesting battles and a lot of, I think, interesting outcomes to said battles. So definitely go binge watch if you're stuck in traffic on the way to work, you need something to do.
Yes. Also, I feel like a lot of this up and coming generation doesn't understand hiatuses as much as we did growing up when you'd be right in the middle of a really good TV show and then they would leave you with a cliffhanger and you had to wait for several months. And it wasn't that it was the end of the series or season, it was just a break.
That's true. I don't know. I think so much is available. They just kind of drop them now in bursts. Whereas, yeah, we had typically there was like two breaks per season. So you had like that midwinter break, and then sometimes you had a springtime break. It was awful having to wait.
One of the TV series I'm watching on Hulu right now just keeps, for whatever reason, taking random 2 or 3 week long breaks. And I'm sitting there going, can you please just hurry up?
Yeah, it's gotten real bad the last couple of years, but it's mainly been like pandemic stuff. They really mess
Yeah.
with the hiatuses and things. But yeah, it's frustrating. I can't even wait a week anymore between episodes. I usually just wait till the
I
full
know.
season's out to start watching something because I can't. I need it now. Give it to me now.
Like Disney Plus is doing their whole once a week thing for Marvel TV shows or whatever. It's just we ain't that patient.
Yeah. I did that with WandaVision. I'm like, nope, I'll just wait till it's all out. Same with Loki.
Yeah, my husband hates waiting, and so oftentimes on our shows with Hulu, he will wait and let a few episodes build up before we actually watch it. And it kind of honestly drives me almost more crazy because we'll watch 2 or 3 episodes in a row and then suddenly have several weeks before we watch an episode. I'm like,
Yeah.
can we just either watch it once a week or wait till the very end? Not this whole weird thing that you like to do.
And you know what? I'm just going to go off on a tangent real quick for Netflix because you can't even do that per season. You really have to wait till 3 seasons have been posted since they love to just cancel things after season 3. Even if it's on a cliffhanger, even if it's, whatever. They just love to cancel things on you.
I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for NCIS to the most recent seasons to be posted onto Netflix. I don't even know if they are ever going to be posted onto Netflix. But literally, it left you on a cliffhanger.
That might be
And
Hulu.
it's been 3 or 4. Nope, it's Netflix.
It's not on Hulu?
So it is on Hulu Live. It is
Oh.
not on the regular side of Hulu.
Because I know they did that with Criminal Minds. Like, Criminal Minds had, like, the first 12 or 13 seasons. And then, like, the last, I think, 2 or 3 seasons were all on Hulu. And I'm like, why? Why would you do that? What?
That's pretty much what they're doing with NCIS. But with NCIS, it's on Hulu Live, which means you can only watch it if you pay for the Hulu Live. You can only watch it if it's either rerun on the TV, and so it's like, oh hey, they're rerunning this episode, so we'll let you watch it on Hulu for a week, or you actually are all caught up and can watch each episode as it comes out. And I am not all caught up. I'm 3 seasons behind, and it is driving me nuts because I keep seeing spoilers all over the internet. That half the time I'm like, I know this is a spoiler, but it doesn't make sense. How does this work? can I please just watch the rest of the show? I'm to the point where I will probably just buy it on Prime. It's fine.
But we, however, digress
Yes.
because
Sorry.
unfortunately we do not talk about crime shows on our podcast.
A roundabout way to say all the episodes for March Madness are available so you can binge watch to your heart's desire. You don't have to wait for any more in between breaks.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, we all did go a little mad.
A little.
Just a little.
Okay, a lot's mad.
Alright. Anyway, brand new episode for you. Starting off the month of May. Starting off our end of hiatus. What are we doing tonight, ladies? What's going on?
So, the day that we will put this out there is going to be a very big day in one of our fandoms. What day is that going to be?
May 4th.
Or May the 4th be with you.
Yes.
So tonight we're going to talk about Star Wars, and more specifically, how Star Wars is just Harry Potter. Let's talk about that. So on TikTok, there's been a video lately that's been going viral by comedian Aaron Woodall that was posted on the Dry Bar Comedy TikTok page, where he just kind of lays out a bunch of reasons why Harry Potter is just a rip on Star Wars. Now, before we start breaking down the different points that were made in the TikTok, let's go ahead and give it a listen so we all have it fresh in our minds what he's talking about here.
J.K. Rowling did not write a masterpiece. She wrote Star Wars with sucky lightsabers. It is a direct ripoff of Star Wars. I am positive of it. Have you ever looked at them side by side? Oh, what do we have here? It's a young, male, orphaned protagonist who, for his own safety, has been sent to live with his aunt and uncle until a mysterious bearded stranger, who's actually the one to deliver him to his aunt and uncle when he was a baby, comes into his life and starts to teach him about this ancient kind of magic. Granted, he's going to learn a lot more about this magic from an older, wiser wizard who's high most of the time. Regardless, his uncle is totally against this magic stuff. He won't even tell him what really happened to his parents. But against his uncle's wishes, he leaves home for the very first time, makes some new friends, meets a pretty, impetuous young girl, and though there will be an odd sexual tension between the two of them throughout, he will only ever love her like a sister while she struggles with the feelings that she has for his best friend, the scruffy comic relief.
Okay, my gut reaction is to say no. I do not believe. But for those at home that haven't been paying attention, I am not a Star Wars nerd. I have actually never seen any of the Star Wars movies. So I'm willing to have an open mind and willing to hear what Jenny and Amber think on this matter. So what do you guys feel on this, on what he's saying?
I don't agree, but I also don't disagree with a lot of what Aaron said, because only that they are basically in the dumbest down version you can go, the same story. I do not feel like J.K. Rowling read or watched Star Wars and then said, "Oh, I'm going to rewrite that story as Harry Potter." And so I don't think she went out of her way to make it the same thing. It just happened to, once you dumb it down, be the same. So I just wanted to kind of throw out that disclaimer here before we started delving in. Jenny, do you have any other thoughts you want to add?
I feel like pretty much what Aaron did was created an outline for the two movies. For Star Wars and Harry Potter, but when you look at like the actual like deep ingrained details, they're obviously different stories. And we could go, detail for detail. Like Luke obviously wasn't sorted to become a Jedi or a Sith. He just kind of became one. So we could, go into the details like that. But yes, the outline is kind of similar. However, I have seen on Facebook, I feel like back in the day, a GIF of like pretty much the same outline, but with like a lot of different movies and characters. Because let's face it, we all love a good hero who is an orphan and has powers of some sort and tries to make the world a better place. I mean, like, I feel like as I was saying that, I could have been talking about Tony Stark. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that's the checklist for a good hero. Tragic backstory, being an orphan, special ability no one else really has, saves the world. I feel like that's kind of the generic hero's journey background type of thing.
Yeah. So, kind of like I said, Ed, it's just if you dumb it down to the like dumbest down version, and that, yes, he's not wrong. And but if you actually elaborate onto it, I do feel like they are very different. And so, like I said, I don't think J.K. Rowling like went out there saying, "I'm going to rewrite Star Wars as Harry Potter." But so our first point, though, is Aaron says that Harry Potter is basically Star Wars with sucky lightsabers. That is his words. And so let's talk lightsabers and wands. And lightsabers are powered by kyber crystals. And they're basically these like energy sticks that you can slice things with and fight with, and that's what the Jedis use, and the Sith use that. Jedis can have many different colors. Sith, theirs is usually always red.
Yeah, I gotta say, again, I have not seen Star Wars. None of them. The most information I know is just what people say on the internet. But if I'm presented with either a lightsaber or a wand, I can go with wand. I think a wand is gonna be much more powerful than a lightsaber every time.
so quite honestly, I think lightsabers and wands separately, totally cool. But when you think about lightsabers, like pretty much they only have like one purpose, and that is to defend yourself and to fight. Whereas wands have so many different purposes. Like, yes, you can defend yourself and fight with them, but you can do so many other things with wands that it's just like they just beat lightsabers by the fact that you can use them for like more than one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lightsabers, I feel like, are just a awesome, cool, unique, different type of sword, basically, versus a wand is so much more than that. So when it comes, I agree.
Also, just to talk a little bit about wands, because you did mention a lot about lightsabers. Wands, yes, they are a piece of wood, and we may not know exactly how they are powered except through the witch or wizard who has them, but they are all different and unique. Also, as you were talking about lightsabers and I was thinking about wands, I just finished watching Psych all the way through again, and the episode where they go to England and Gus is just super excited to go to PotterCon, and like they get detained at the airport because he's trying to bring on his Nimbus 2000 and his wand, which actually has a compartment for his phoenix feather in it, as well as like little vials for potions. I just thought that was hilarious because that would so be me.
Yeah, so wands, there are several different types of trees and that they can be made from, and then they each have there's several different types of cores that they can have. Like Harry's has a phoenix feather, and that. So I do feel like at the end of the day, I think wands are better than lightsabers. Like they're both awesome. Don't get me wrong. I would love to have a lightsaber, but I do feel like putting them side by side, wands are better than lightsabers.
All right, real quick, just to play a little devil's advocate here. So not everyone
Okay.
can use a wand, right? You have to be a witch or wizard to use a
Right.
wand, and even then, wands have allegiances. So if it's not loyal to you, it's not always gonna work the best for you. Is that the same with lightsabers? Can anyone pick up and use a lightsaber, or do you have to have like the?
You have to have the Force.
So technically everybody has the Force. Let's just clarify that. The Force is basically like the Jedi's in the Jedi world, it's basically Mother Nature type thing.
Okay.
Like and so, Mother Nature is a part of everybody and everything in our world. The Force is a part of everybody and everything. The Jedi are just people who have been trained from birth most of the time. There are the unique cases that it's just in their blood type thing, but most of them are trained from birth to be able to control the Force and be able to use it to their advantage. And that being said, with lightsabers, this is where you get into something a little tricky, and this is where a lot of people have issues with where Disney took over Star Wars from, and that is the fact that supposedly you have to be a Jedi to be able to control lightsabers. But we see Han, who is not a Jedi, he technically uses a lightsaber at one point in time during the the 3 movies that Disney came out with. And then there's a few other cases where like been a few other times that we've seen people who are not necessarily trained in the Jedi art be able to use a lightsaber, and so a lot of fans do have issues with that. So, but if you go based off of how Lucasfilms and like that era of it, then technically, yes, you have to be a Jedi to be able to use a lightsaber.
Okay.
So that right there just makes it that much better.
Yeah, wand is still better. I mean, you can do anything. So.
Yeah. So then our next point is we have Luke and Harry, our orphaned protagonists. And yeah, that's pretty much, like we've already said, that's kind of a good storyline for a hero in general. And so it's not a surprise that they're both orphans.
Yeah. Like you think of good, strong.
I prefer to call them the 2 moody teenagers.
But yeah, you think of any strong character who goes up and tries to save the world. A lot of them have that orphan background. I mean, you think Hunger Games, Katniss, her father died when she was young. Yeah, her mother was alive, but her mother wasn't really a mother. Her mother might as well been gone too, so she had to raise herself.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man raised by aunt and uncle. I think if you look at like all the Marvel heroes, like none of their parents are
Yeah.
alive. It's just that's kind of like a given. You have to have that trauma to make a good hero. Well, I mean, you don't have to, but that's just what happens. I really can't think of any hero or heroine, at least recently, that didn't have that orphan or at least like half orphan, someone parent got killed for some reason aspect of it. So that's kind of more like a, well, duh.
Yeah, so, and then kind of going along with that same, like, they were orphaned, they both were taken to their aunts and uncles for their safety. Like, Harry was taken to his aunt and uncle because that was the only living blood relatives that he had, and supposedly because of the love protection spell, he had to be with blood relatives for his safety. And then Luke was taken to his aunt and uncles for his safety. To be totally honest, I'm not entirely sure how that was actually the safest route to go. Because Vader knew about that aunt and uncle. They weren't a secret thing that, like, he didn't know who they were. He knew who they were. If he had wanted to, he could have shown up at their house at any time and nothing would have stopped him. Like, granted, he believed that Padme had died before giving birth, so he didn't even realize that, Luke and Leia existed. And so he didn't really have a reason to go look for them, but I still don't quite understand the whole why he had to go live with his aunt and uncle for his safety.
Neither do I.
I mean, I don't think it really makes sense. I would try to be like, well, it kind of makes sense, but I feel like it's more of just like, okay, but this is like the storyline. I mean, that sounds really lame. It's kind of like, why does this actor do this? Because that's what it told them to in the script.
Yep.
Guys, did we just find another reason of why Harry Potter's just Star Wars? Because it really doesn't make sense that Harry had to go with his aunt and uncle either.
Well, yes and no. I feel like when she came out with it about the whole, like, protection thing, it hadn't been a solid idea at the beginning. So at the beginning, it did not make sense. But then, J.K. Rowling came out with the fact that it had to do with that protection spell. And so it begrudgingly made sense. Still did not agree with it happening that way. But, it at least eventually made sense why he had to be tortured, basically.
And I've said this before, I really feel like that was just a last minute addition to justify that. Oh yeah, no, he had to be there. He had to have this whole neglectful, abusive childhood because of this reason, because magic. I don't like it.
I mean, like, if he just had to be there for like, if Harry only had to be there for like, the protection to like call it home, I feel like that could have just been easily done. Like, Harry, this is your home. Okay, remember that? This is your home. Okay, you're gonna come in, you're gonna say hi, and then we're gonna leave. But remember, this is
Yeah.
your home.
Yeah. They literally could have just, okay, you're gonna go home for, because they do that in the later books. Like, Harry is
Yeah.
very rarely there for longer than like a week or two in, like, I want to say the last 2 books. I'm talking before Deathly Hallows. So like the 2 before Deathly Hallows, because he's not even there anymore. But yeah, he's literally just like there for a week, and then Dumbledore comes to get him, or whoever comes, Tonks comes to get him. Like, they do that at the end. There's no way they could have done that the entire time. All right, Harry, you're going home, and then pick him up a week later. Oh, come to the Weasleys and hang out. Hey, come here, and they could have done that the entire time.
Like I said, I don't agree with it, but it does explain it, at least, versus with Star Wars, I legit don't understand why Luke had to go to his aunt and uncle.
However, if we're talking about which aunt and uncle were the worst, it's got to be the Dursleys.
Dursley's hands down, because, well, we'll get to it in a little bit. Both didn't agree with the orphaned child's parents' choices in life, and both didn't really want them to be a part of that world. Luke's aunt and uncle were never actually abusive. They didn't degrade him at all, and he loved his aunt and uncle very much. But so next bullet point, though, is mysterious bearded stranger who delivered them to their aunt and uncle as a baby, then comes back into their lives to tell them about this ancient magic. Which I kind of find funny that he refers to the Force as magic, because I don't feel like it's. I feel like that's actually something that the Jedi tried to make sure people understand, is that they don't do magic. So I kind of found it funny that he used those terms. But yeah, so we have
Who's the mysterious bearded stranger in Star Wars?
Obi-Wan Kenobi, right?
Yes.
Pretty sure it's
I
Obi-Wan.
mean, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so Obi-Wan brings Luke to his aunt and uncle as a baby, and then he kind of goes, and he's a recluse that lives in the mountains, just near where Luke lives. So that's another big key difference here, is Luke has seen Obi-Wan before. And he doesn't know it's Obi-Wan until later, and doesn't understand the connection. And his aunt and uncle pretend like they don't really know who Obi-Wan is. But Obi-Wan basically watches over Luke from a distance from the day he drops him off. And so I feel like that's a big difference, because Hagrid isn't there watching constantly over Harry just from a distance. And
I mean, I'm sure if he had his way, he would.
oh yeah.
See, when it said mysterious bearded stranger, I was thinking Dumbledore. I wasn't even thinking of Hagrid.
Well, then it talks about later how he goes to another school or whatever and is trained by another bearded stranger, a more powerful one.
It talks about, yeah, so there's the mysterious bearded stranger that delivers him to his aunt and uncle, that tell him about the ancient magic, but then he has as it puts it, an older and wiser mentor that is high most of the time, that actually teaches him magic. And so Obi-Wan and Hagrid are mysterious bearded
Okay.
strangers, and that because Hagrid was a key part of delivering him to the aunt and uncle. He brought him from the house to his aunt and uncle. And then Hagrid is the
Right.
one that first shows up and is like, "Hey, you're a wizard."
Yo, Wizard Harry. I'm a what? Sorry.
A wizard. And so Obi-Wan is the first person to tell Luke about more about his dad, and more about lightsabers, and about the Force and stuff. And then we get to the older, wiser mentor, who in Harry Potter is Dumbledore, and in Star Wars is Yoda.
Yoda! Okay, but real fast, let's decide here. Hagrid or Obi-Wan?
In terms of what?
of being the bearded guy who dropped you on the doorstep and then comes and tells you that you actually have magic?
Uh, that's a hard one for me to really decide which character I like better, because they're both like, I think this is where it comes down to the differences in the stories, and that, like, when you actually delve into it, they're such different characters. He makes it sound like they're the exact same type of character, but they're so different that at the end of the day, I don't know that I could choose.
I'm gonna choose Hagrid.
Well, no surprise there.
But like, I still feel like this goes along with the whole. We said, every hero's got to have an orphan aspect of it. Everyone kind of needs that character that reveals that exposition. The character's not just going to randomly find out on their own about this ancient magic. You need somebody there to reveal it. So
Yeah.
I think, like, kind of going back with you mentioned Katniss from the Hunger Games, like, even though it's not technically, hey, you've got powers, Haymitch is like that bearded stranger for her.
yeah, the mentor. And I mean, she may not have magical powers, but she is pretty good with weapons and survival skills, which I would say counts. She's not supposed to have those.
And I feel like one of the other references he talked about was Spider-Man, and in the most recent movies where, spoiler if you haven't watched it, we do understand there's different Spider-Verses, but in this particular Spider-Verse, and that Spider-Man's mentor is Tony Stark.
And I would argue that in the Sam Raimi one with Tobey Maguire, even though it's not like fully, hey, I'm your mentor and stuff like that, I would argue that Uncle Ben, in a way, subtly mentored Toby.
Yeah.
Like, the whole reason he pursued becoming a hero was based on what his dying uncle's words were. So I would argue that that was kind of a mentoring position.
I mean, even in the Spider-Man that Amber was saying, like, that's what Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man says. I actually rewatched No Way Home, like, on Friday, but that's pretty much what he says, is like, when they're all talking about, like, who they lost and stuff like that, that made it really hard for them to go on. He mentions Uncle Ben. Andrew Garfield, like, his Spider-Man doesn't really, but then again, it could have been just because, like, Toby had already said, like, Uncle Ben, and so then
Yeah.
Andrew could have been like, yeah, and I lost Gwen, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, but like we've kind of stated just from the beginning, like, if you get down to like the nitty-gritty, every story has like a very similar generic outline. It's when you start to actually expand and delve into the characters that you realize how unique and different each one is. And so, we have our older and wiser mentors, Yoda and Dumbledore. Yoda all the way for me.
Yes,
Like,
go Yoda.
Which Dumbledore are we speaking of? Movie version Dumbledore or book version Dumbledore? Because they are, in fact, two very different people.
Well, I'm going to also say that movie 1 and movie 2, Dumbledore is completely different than the rest of the movie Dumbledore as well.
Yeah, that's true.
And I stand by my saying of movie 1 and movie 2 Dumbledore is the only real Dumbledore. And so, if I had to pick a Dumbledore that I don't want to be mentored by, that's the version I would take.
Yeah.
I'm not really going to crack this nut open that much, but I have been thinking a lot about Dumbledore. And if you think about it from his point of view, he wasn't really doing anything wrong. It was a whole like one person to save a nation, you know? And so, like, if you think about it from his point of view, not that that's the right point of view, but if you think about it from his point of view, it made sense. He was going to use Harry to save the nation and all the crap that Harry had to go through to get there.
I mean, I kind of have a different view of that because I'm currently reading Deathly Hallows, and they just literally had a blow up of Dumbledore literally told us nothing. So, I mean, yeah, he was trying to sacrifice the one for the many, but he didn't do a very good job of it. He
No.
literally just left oblivious Harry to try to figure it out on their own.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
It's true.
So, I guess I'd have to go with Yoda. Yeah, I have no idea about Yoda or what he does, but I'm just gonna go with that he's probably better than what Dumbledore set Harry up for. Because I know what Dumbledore did.
It's true.
Yeah, versus, Yoda actually does
However, if we talk about
teach
Luke leaving
quite a bit.
Rey,
And
probably not the best mentor.
so we also have, going back to the family aspect of it, the uncles are totally against the protagonists learning about, well, say magic for this podcast's sake, and that, as well as the uncles also didn't tell them what happened to their parents. Like, Luke didn't. All Luke knew is that his mom died during childbirth, and he was basically told that his dad died during the Clone Wars. That's like all he knew, even though, in a way, yes, his dad technically did die during the Clone Wars. Like,
I
that's not
mean,
a total lie.
I kind of
But
feel like that's more honest than James and Lily dying in a car crash.
A car crash?
yeah,
A car crash kills Lily and Jane Potter? It's preposterous. I can't remember the rest of that quote. It's a
it's
scandal.
outrageous.
It's a scandal.
But yeah, so I agree that that is more of a truth than what Harry was ever told. And so, like I said, if you get down to the nitty-gritty, yeah, the uncles are pretty much the same aim, but then you start to expand, and you have, like we already said, you have Luke's uncle who was not abusive. He raised him for what was the normal right there. Like, he raised him to be a hard worker. He taught him how to live off of the land, different things like that. Like, he raised him in a good way, versus we've got Harry's aunt and uncle who were physically and emotionally abusive, as well as the cousin was the same way type thing. And so once you expand out, they are two very different characters.
Yeah.
At some point in time, I hope we talk about Dudley and how much he changes after Harry saved him from the Dementors, because
Yes, because I just finished reading that, and I love that little interaction. And when oblivious Harry, finally realizes what the T was for, we need to talk about that.
Yeah, and also, I hate that they deleted that scene. They actually created that scene,
I love it.
and I hate that they deleted it. I also another deleted scene that I hate that they took out is the scene where, Petunia becomes vulnerable, and actually it was like when he's like, well, you have to go because as Voldemort's a horrible wizard and stuff like that, and she's like, you think I don't know type thing. You may have lost your mother, but I also lost my sister type thing. And so like that vulnerable moment where, we actually see some emotion from Petunia. I'm like, why wasn't that in the movie?
Yeah.
Those two scenes, and I saw them in the deleted scenes, I was just like, why did we decide to delete these? These are two very great character building scenes. But I digress.
I'm kind of okay not having the Petunia one because it's just so out of left field. Because she has never, ever, ever shown any ounce that she cared about her sister.
Yes and no. Like, I think that, especially because, again, we don't see this in the movie, like, almost at all. All we see of Petunia in Snape's memory is her yelling at Lily, calling her a freak. But ultimately, in the books, you end up realizing, because in Snape's memory, you get to know Petunia a little bit better, and you realize that it wasn't necessarily that she hated her sister or thought her sister was a freak. It's more she was jealous of her sister. She apparently wrote multiple letters to Dumbledore trying to petition to let her go to Hogwarts. And Dumbledore told her no.
But if she
And
actually cared that her sister just got murdered, wouldn't she treat her son a little kinder?
yes and no, because you've got to realize that one, and the hate had built up over the years, and that for one, and so she's got a lot of hate towards her sister because of the fact that her sister is a witch and she's not, as well as then suddenly her sister is dead, and so any chance of like fixing that bond is suddenly gone, and you have the mixed emotions of all of that goes with that. And then suddenly, not only is your sister dead, but you're then forced to raise her child, who is also going to be a wizard and be part of the world that you wanted to be a part of so bad. And so I'm not trying to justify like Petunia's treatment of Harry at all, but if you look at the nitty-gritty of all of the emotions that woman was feeling, it does kind of make sense. And that it's messed up and it's wrong, and she definitely, like, she could use a lot of therapy. I feel like a lot of Harry Potter characters could use a lot of therapy. And
Harry could use a lot of
but
therapy.
Also talking about Star Wars, and I feel like Star Wars, they could use some therapy
yeah,
up in there too.
like I definitely feel like she could, if she had maybe gotten therapy, she wouldn't have been as bad of an aunt type thing. But if you like look at all the different emotions that were going through her, and that her behavior starts to make a little more sense. And at least for me, it does. I don't think it was right. I don't agree with it, but I can see why. And that because having felt a lot of those same emotions at different points in time in my life, I'm like, yeah, it's hard to handle all those different emotions. Like, like Hermione says, she doesn't have an emotional range of a teaspoon, like some people do. And so, as well
Alright,
as,
I guess.
she was poisoned by Vernon. I do feel like Vernon played a huge part in her hate of magic, because he was like, oh my gosh, they're so weird and different. I don't want anything to do with them. And so I think that like he just added fuel to that fire. And so it definitely, him being in the picture did not help any.
I guess, yeah. Alright, anyway.
Okay,
Okay.
so I'm gonna kind of just sum up the last 3 points real fast because they all kind
Well,
of go together.
well, let's talk about the next two because I feel like these are just grasping at straws, and I have whole other opinions on that last one. But leaving home for the first time and making new friends, let's just combine those because, come on, that's like bare minimum. Like, every single person, even non-heroes, even villains, are gonna leave their home for the first time and meet new people and form those bonds. It's like, you can't say that's just like a Star Wars thing. You can't say that.
No,
Like,
like,
every character ever is gonna leave their house at one point and see someone else and go, hey, let's
Guys,
be friends.
maybe I'm from Star Wars. I left my house for the first time
yeah,
and made new friends.
Confirm, Jenny is part of the Star Wars universe.
yeah. I feel like that is like the most basic, dumbed down thing of this whole situation. Like, and I'm like that. Everybody at some point in time does that.
Argus Filch left his home one day and made friends.
Did he? Did he really though?
I mean, he definitely left his home, and Mrs. Norris, I think, is his closest friend. Tell me I'm wrong.
Let's talk about how his new friends that he makes is a pretty girl, a pretty young girl with an odd sexual tension between the two of them. He loves her as a sister, but she always has feelings for his scruffy best friend that is also the comic relief.
So I agree with half of that, but I do not, any way, shape, or form, ever see any sexual tension between Harry Potter and Hermione Granger. Ever. No.
Yep. The one scene in the movie where they start dancing and there is like sexual tension there, it drives me crazy every time I see it because I'm like, no, that never happened in the book. No.
Okay, first, yeah, first it didn't happen in the book, and second, I still don't see anything more than just two friends there. You know, they're alone, they are broken, they are tired, they are kids out in the middle of nowhere trying to survive. It wasn't anything, that's not Harry
Yeah,
making a move, there's no sexual tension, it's just them trying to comfort each other.
exactly. Like I don't. For me, like I didn't necessarily have a boyfriend in high school, but I would go to dances with guys, and some of them I literally went to the dance with them as friends. No sexual tension there. And that, in fact, one of my good friends in high school, her younger brother would actually host dances like once a month during the summer and that, and I would go, and he was honestly my favorite person to dance with, especially when it came to swing dancing because he was really, really good, and I'd seen him with all the other girls, and so I was very confident in his ability to be able to do some of the lifts and stuff like that with me and different things like that. And so I loved dancing with him. But literally, I saw him as a little brother because he was my really good friend's little brother. And I was like, he's just my little brother. There was no sexual tension at all. We would dance all the time together.
And then let's talk about the fact that Luke and Leia are brother and sister, and not to mention they kissed. So,
Yeah, I was gonna ask, can you break that down for me a little bit? Because, yeah.
So there is definitely, I'll say in Star Wars, there is some awkward sexual tension between them before they realized that they're brother and sister because they didn't know they were brother and sister. And that they also didn't know they were brother and sister when Leia kissed Luke, but literally Leia kissed Luke just to piss Han Solo off. Because Han Solo was hitting on her, and she basically at the beginning wanted nothing to do with him, which is another thing that like I do feel like comparing Han and Ron in that whole situation, I do see that comparison. And that because, we see like especially in the first movie, there is that like tension between them that is like, oh my gosh, I don't like you, that turns to friendship. And there's kind of that same tension between Han and Leia when they first meet and stuff. And Han is like, he's in a way self-centered and views himself as like the best thing in the world that a woman could ever, have be the lucky chance to meet. And so, he thinks that he's the best thing since sliced bread. And Leia is basically like, no, you're not.
I mean, they have lightsabers, so do you think that if they use their lightsabers to slice the bread, it would just be toast?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, part of me is dreading asking this, but like, when we say that they kiss, is it just like a quick peck, or is it like a kiss?
So it's not like a extremely quick peck, but there is no tongue.
There is no movement. Okay, it's like one of those kisses where they just like hold in the same position.
Yeah, she makes it last a little long.
Okay.
Yeah, she like basically she grabs Luke is like recovering in the medical ward, and Han and Leia are arguing about how like Han's like, you really do actually like me type thing. You're just in denial about it. They're having one of those arguments. They have a lot of those arguments, by the way. But she then, just to shut him up, literally turns, grabs Luke, and lifts him up so that he's in a half like sitting position and kisses him, and then lets him go, and he like basically falls back onto the bed like, what the heck just happened? And then it's not until like a lot later that they end up realizing that, they're brother and sister. And it's actually kind of funny because Han doesn't know for the longest time. So he actually tells Leia, he's finally like, okay, fine, I accept that you like Luke, and I just want you to be happy. And she's like, Luke's my brother. And he's like, wait, what? And then that's when their romance really actually takes off.
All right. Another follow-up question. Are we going to talk about the other 2 times apparently Luke and Leia have kissed?
The other 2 times?
Uh-huh.
I would have to do a little more research into that because I only remember the one time. It has been a little while since I've seen the movies, though, so it's possible that they kissed other times.
I'm pretty sure there's only one time, unless it was in some other like TV show.
So apparently they kiss in A New Hope. A very quick peck. Emperor Strikes Back. And Return of the Jedi, maybe?
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
But I definitely see 2 pictures of them kissing
Now I'm
from
gonna
different
have to
movies. Alright, well, okay. Anyway, that's weird. But, yeah, I don't agree with the first part. Okay, what about the scruffy best friend comic relief? Do we think...
I do kind of like, I think if you get down to the very basic of Han and Ron, I do agree with the fact that they are kind of the scruffy comic relief. And that I do feel like that does fit their characters. But then, like I said, once you build them up and actually like look at them separately and like go into more of their characteristics and personalities and stuff like that, I do feel like they are completely, totally different characters.
But again, though, I feel like almost every story needs that comic relief character.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's necessarily unique to Star Wars. I would say Hunger Games. I would say, along with like the mentor, I would say Haymitch is probably also the scruffy comic relief character as well. Spider-Man, we have, what is it, Ned? Is that his name? Yeah.
Yep.
You've got Ned, and it's not a unique thing. I feel like, I know you guys probably haven't seen it, but you guys have heard Cabin in the Woods, right? The movie.
No.
You haven't heard of it? With
Nope.
Chris Hemsworth? Okay. Well, kind of break it down. There's a ritual that they're trying to perform, and they say there's 5 types of people. You have your jock, you have your I can't remember what they call them, but like the funny idiot or something, the comic relief. You have the book smart. You have like the Aphrodite type of character. Like you have these 5 archetypes of people, and I kind of think that's true. You're always gonna have those 5 in a story. You're gonna have the smart jock. You're gonna have the bookworm. You're gonna have the comic relief. You're gonna have like these characters. So I feel like it's not necessarily enough to say Harry Potter is Star Wars just because there is a comic relief character. I feel like almost every story is going to have a comic relief character.
Okay.
And I might be adding on to the fuel of the fire here,
Yeah.
but if we are indeed saying, which we're not, but if we're saying that Harry Potter is Star Wars, you could look at C-3PO and R2-D2 as Fred and George. Because I feel like, in my opinion, personal opinion, those are the real comic reliefs. Like, yes, they're not in it that much, so that's why we have Ron and Han, which, by the way, it kind of cracks me up that their names kind of rhyme. But like C-3PO and R2-D2, like you don't always really know what's going on there because they're both droids. And C-3PO is the only one that actually speaks English out of the two. But they're like definitely the comic relief. I feel like most, like in any of the movies, the droids are the comic relief. Any of the Star Wars movies. And then, of course, you have Fred and George, who are also the comic relief. Like, that's literally what they do. But to finish off, please let us know what you guys think. Is Harry Potter just Star Wars with quote unquote really weak lightsabers? Let us know what you think.
I'm still going with no. I don't know about y'all. I'm still going with no because these are just watered down where you're going to find them in almost any story.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't agree, but I don't disagree. When you take it down to the dumbest down version, yes, they are the same. But I don't think J.K. Rowling went with it saying, I'm going to just rewrite Star Wars.
I mean, maybe some unconscious stuff slipped in as writing, because I mean, that's just what happens with everyone writing.
Mm-hmm.
Our experiences, our knowledge of things that we know that we have been exposed to, they can subconsciously slip into our writings, but...
So let us know what you think. And yeah, may the 4th be with you. Unless you guys have anything else to say.
Nope, I think that covers it. I'm going to go and not watch Star Wars now. Peace out, y'all.
Nope, that's pretty much it.
Have a great week.
Bye.